How's it going, guys? Today I'm going to show you what it's like to drive the all-new 2024 Acura TLX Type S from a first-person point of view. A super attractive sports sedan with a comfortable, luxurious interior. This thing is actually very impressive. Under the hood is a 3-liter turbocharged V6 that makes 355 horsepower and 354 pound-feet of torque. Power gets sent to all 4 wheels via a 10-speed automatic transmission, and 0 to 60 happens in just below 5 seconds. So it actually is properly quick. Looks-wise, I think Acura did a fantastic job with the Type S. They've got a revised Acura logo and front grille for the new generation of the Type S. It's basically a mid-cycle refresh, but it looks so darn good. We've got these upgraded 20-inch copper wheels that look fantastic as well. Upgraded Brembo brakes. Let's go around to the rear of the Type S, another fantastic angle. We've got this large spoiler on the back and a pretty aggressive rear diffuser. We've also got a nice quad exhaust that sounds actually pretty darn good. What's nice is the options on this car are very reasonable. This paint and red interior color combination was just a $600 option. Now, I will say the rear seats do look nice, but there's not quite as much space as I would like back there. But that is not the case for up in the front of the car. Let's go ahead and hop in and show you some of the features. Inside the Type S now, we've got very unique drive controls. If you put it into reverse, you actually pull this back. Put it into neutral, drive, and sport. We also have a dynamic mode selector, which is pretty nice right here. We're in comfort mode right now. If we scroll that over, we get some cool graphics on the display here. Normal mode, sport, and then you turn and hold for Sport Plus mode. We've got a nice digital instrument cluster, 12.3-inch screen there, and a 12.3-inch screen there as well. And it is customizable. Go ahead and click on this button right here, scroll down, gauge settings, go to gauge layout, and we can turn it into crafted, a more typical gauge cluster setup that you might be used to. Now, one of my big complaints about this car is this trackpad right here, but it's not as bad as everyone's saying. I do wish that there was an alternative option that you could touch the screen. Unfortunately, it's a little bit too far away. If they move the screen forward, you could touch screen as a second option, and I think that would be really, really nice. The seats, honestly, look really pretty, but let me show you what I mean by this trackpad. So for the trackpad, it senses on the screen where your finger is placed on the pad. So if I want to click on FM radio up there, I put my finger up on the top right, and it does guess pretty well and pretty accurately. And then if you want to select it, we'll go to Smart Shortcuts, you just click down. It does take a little bit to get used to, and if you put it into Apple CarPlay, it's definitely not the best, although I do love the fact that we also have cooled seats, heated seats, and the climate control in an actual analog button setting, so you don't have to use the infotainment to get there. We also have a dedicated volume knob as well as a track selector. Steering wheel feels great in your hands. The paddles are good too. Let's go ahead and get it out on the road and see what it's like to drive. All right, to fire up the TLX Type S, we've got a start-stop button right here. Go ahead and fire that up. Some pretty cool graphics flash on the screen. Now we'll go to this drive mode selector here because we are in the canyons, and shift over to Sport Plus when the screen boots up. We've got multiple different instrument cluster options to choose from. I think this one is the most aggressive. It's pretty cool, but we can also shift it, scrolling down, gauge settings, gauge layout, back to a more standard setup. Now, if we go to dynamic mode and shift over, there's sport mode, pretty cool graphics on the screen. If we hold it, it'll put it into Sport Plus. The gauges light up in red. Let's go back and put it into advanced mode for the gauge cluster because I think that is the coolest looking mode. It actually took me a bit to find out that that existed. Now to put it into drive, click this button here. One more time to put it into sport, pull the left paddle to put it into manual, and off we go. Now it will automatically upshift for you, which I'm not the biggest fan of, but obviously it's not a dual clutch transmission or anything like that, and you're probably not often going to be driving this aggressively in the canyons, but I do wish that manual truly meant manual instead of kind of a hybrid between manual and automatic. So let's test out that super handling all-wheel drive around some corners and see how much grip we can get. It actually has a shocking amount of grip in the turns. has a bit more body roll than I would like. I feel like it'd be really cool if they had an upgradable suspension option that just made the springs a little bit more firm. Now, I've been driving this for the last week, and I will say, as a daily driver and a commuter, the suspension setup is fantastic. We'll put it into normal mode in a bit. It makes a massive difference. But I just wish there was a little bit less body roll, because the amount of grip that you're getting, it's a capable sports car, but it just feels a little bit more dicey because it's leaning from side to side. The steering wheel feels fantastic in your hands. I love the perforated leather. Honestly, looks really good as well. The controls are easy to use on the steering wheel. We've got paddles that feel nice as well. I wish they were a little bit bigger, but they are very nice paddles, honestly, for the price. Man, this thing is fun to drive, and honestly, let's go ahead and slow down. It sounds really good. Listen to this, especially on upshifts. It's got that little thwap to it in between shifts. That's really awesome. I believe there's pumped-in audio, but it doesn't sound too artificial. I like the way this engine sounds. 355 horsepower, 354 pound-feet of torque. It's quick, it's not super fast, but obviously I'm pretty jaded given the fact that most of the cars I drive have over 600 horsepower, but it does still feel pretty impressive when you floor it. There is a noticeable amount of turbo lag, but part of that, I was really thinking about this. Do I want less turbo lag? And I kind of came to the conclusion that I don't. I like the fact that you get this surge of power. Obviously, you're not going to be setting records with 0 to 60 times or lap times or anything like that. So why not make it feel a little bit more fun and aggressive? And that happens when you have a turbo that surges. That power just starts to kick on and thrust you back into your seat as it raises through the RPM range. Now, we don't have launch control, but let's floor it from a standstill. It is pretty quick. Let's test out these brakes. Slows the car down properly well. I read some complaints online about the brakes, saying they were a little bit mushy and didn't slow the car down well. I kind of totally disagree with that. All right, so we've tested out the handling. It's got a lot of grip. It can send 70% of the power to the rear wheels and 100% of that 70% to either one of the rear wheels individually. And when you do start to really push it around a corner and go a little bit too fast, it does kind of get a little bit like tail happy in a way. It's playful at the limit, which I wasn't expecting whatsoever. It doesn't just cut power and start understeering. It's pretty good. So let's go through these different modes, shall we? I like the different graphics that accurately describe what the car is doing in the individual modes. So we're putting it in comfort mode now. Let's take it out of sport mode. All of a sudden the steering loosens up quite a bit. The suspension is more relaxed. Obviously going to get better fuel economy. Throttle response is lessened. It's a really easy car to drive. We've got a heads-up display that's fully customizable. Right now I have it just set to speed, but you can have navigation options, a multitude of different options. Now, I do wish that you could touch the screen. It's not a touch screen, and in fact, it's too far away to even reach it. You'd have to really thrust yourself forward. I don't think this touchpad is as bad as people are making it out to be, but it's definitely not my favorite, particularly when you go into Apple CarPlay. But I do like the graphics. It's responsive. It's pretty intuitive to use. I think the dash looks nice as well. Initially, when I only saw the kind of dual cluster layout, I kind of felt like I preferred the Integra Type S interior by a significant margin. Now, I do like the layout of the Integra Type S more, but there's no denying that this does feel a bit more premium. I like the fact that there's leather on the dash. We've got contrasted stitching, which is pretty nice. Having those analog controls and buttons for the climate control is having those analog controls for the climate control is nice. The cooled seats work exceptionally well. Now, this does have lane keep assist in a form of partial self-driving. I don't think it's my favorite system. The adaptive cruise control works really well. It'll slow itself down and speed itself up in traffic with no problems at all. But the lane keep assist with the steering assist, it seems like it wants to wander out of the lanes every once in a while, which obviously is not good. Overall, I've had a fun time with this car, honestly. It sounds better than I was expecting. It's really comfortable to drive, and it is actually decently quick. Now, with the refresh, it would have been nice to have a little bit of a power bump, but perhaps they're waiting for a full new generation of the TLX Type S to release something with 400 horsepower or something in that range. The seats are comfortable. They're not super supportive around the turns, but like I said, the odds that you're gonna be tracking this or driving it really intensely in the canyons are probably low. So I do feel like the seats are exactly what they're supposed to be. And the fact that it has heated and cooling capability is quite nice. Now you can actually customize the driving mode by clicking this button right here, the Acura logo. We'll go ahead and click that, press and hold to customize. And you can change the engine response, the steering, the suspension, etc. Let's see, we'll use this touchpad. That worked pretty well. Touch down, suspension, put it into sport. Yeah, that instantly firms it up quite a bit. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Like always, please browse the channel and subscribe. I look forward to seeing you next video.